Hi friends, it's Julie Golding Page, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, Canada, along the tidal Scoodic or St. Croix River, the traditional territory and home of the Passamaquoddy. And I'm grateful that they share this beautiful place with us. Today I have another free class for you, and I'm really happy to be offering these throughout Sale-A-Bration until the end of February. Please let me know if these free classes are of benefit to you, and then I can take that into consideration to see if I'm going to continue them once we get into March as well. So today I have a class that features the wonderful Stippled Roses bundle. Here's one of the sample cards, and so I will get right to that and show you how to make the cards. So let's get going. All right. So just as we start here, I've got my website listed here, juliescraftaddict.com. So anything that you want to find out about my classes or look at my designs for different cards on my blog that I post regularly every week, several days a week, or if you want to shop with me, there's also the host code here. So you can use the host code and you can get some free additional gifts with your order, and that's all detailed right on my website. If you click through where it says learn more, you can find out more about how to access all of those free goodies. And here is one of the cards we'll be doing today. I'll just give you a sneak peek of the others and then we'll get right to making the cards. Oh, hi Kathy, welcome. I hope you like the class that I'll be doing here today. So these are the cards we're going to be making. And I would like to start with this one. So let's get right to it. So I should say too, as I get started here, that you can get the pre-cut packets to make each of these cards. So you get 3 packets. You just add your own stamps and ink, but I'd be happy to send you the packets for free when you place a minimum $60 order with me before tax and shipping by the end of February the 7th. So this offer is just on until the end of February the 7th, and I'd love to gift you these packets with your $60 minimum order. All right, so let's start with the stamping. All right. Oh, you like the card? Oh, wonderful. I'm glad, Kathy. The colors in this paper are fantastic. So I should show you the bundle here first. So this is the Stippled Roses bundle. And you can see it comes with a Happy Mother's Day sentiment, birthday sentiment, congratulations, which would be great for graduation, for engagement, wedding, anniversary, anything like that, or even birthday, and sending thanks. So this is a really multi-purpose set, lots of possibilities, and it comes with some really nice dies too when you get the bundle. So again, it's called Stippled Roses, and here's all the things that you can get. So these ones, the outlines will cut out some of the stamps that you saw here. So they'd cut out this image, and this one. And then you can cut out some greenery and some little flower bits as well and piece things together. So there's all kinds of possibilities with this particular bundle. And I will get right to it. So we are going to stamp this first. So let's see, let's do that. So what I use to stamp that is the great big image here. Now what I will say about this is if you have this bundle, you will need some larger blocks to use for your stamps. I generally just use these little blocks that come free with your kit. It's part of the kit. And I really like these little blocks, and I have a whole bunch of them because I've bought many kits, and I just use those for most things. But sometimes you have to dig out the big ones, and this is one of the bigger blocks. So let's see, which one is this? So this is block E that I'm using, but any block that is big enough for it will work. So you don't have to worry about which one, but if you have the Stampin' Up! Blocks, block E, or if you need to buy one, it's block E. Okay, so let's get out our ink here. And the ink for this one is actually Calypso Coral. Okay, so that is not a color I get to use all that much, so I'm happy to do that for this particular card. And with a big stamp like this, you're going to want to turn your ink pad upside down and then ink up the whole image really, really well, just to make sure that you can see the ink on that stamp. So let's see what we got here. So you can see that's pretty shiny, so that looks good. And I've got a paper underneath here. This is grid paper, by the way. You get it in packs of 100. And it's really, really useful stuff to have around because you can use it for all kinds of your projects. I find it's really great to have. So with a big stamp like this, I like to press on the middle as well as the edges, because otherwise, if you just kind of press like this, sometimes the middle doesn't stamp. So I like to give it a nice even pressure. All right, and look at that. It looks very nice, doesn't it? So that's all we need to do for our stamping on that part. I'm just going to clean up my stamp here. I'm using my very well used and well loved chamois here, which you can get from Stampin' Up, and they're just a foamy material made for you to clean your stamps. All they require is water, so there is no chemical stuff involved in it. And you just rinse it out, and a lot of that color will come right out for you. You could wash it, I think, if you wanted, but I just rinse it out with water and then put it back in the container here. This is just a stamp case. You can buy packs of stamp cases as well if you need one. And I'm just going to take that back off and put it back in my stamp case here. So if you've never had a brand new set of the cling stamps from Stampin' Up before, a tip that I was given and I really like is to keep all of the stamps right in there so that they're stuck basically to the back here, and the rubber around the edges keeps them all in line, so you're not worried about whether there's enough space to put all of them on your stamp case. It'll just keep them spaced out properly. And also, if you keep this outline of all the rubber around it, like all the extra bits you don't really need, then when you have all the stamps in place, you know that you've got them all. Whereas if you take that rubber mat away, all you'd see is I can't even talk today, sorry guys. All you'd see is the stamps themselves, and then you wouldn't know if you had the whole set. So if you have this outline of the extra rubber bits, then you can tell that yes, indeed, you do have all of the stamps in place. And why don't I show you how to put this together too? I have one more stamp that I have not used here, and if you haven't seen a set of rubber stamps before, when they're brand new, then I'll show you how to do it. So you get this sticker sheet here, and you can read through the back. That one says Happy Mother's Day. So let me just put that together for you. We're not actually going to use that stamp, but I'll just show you how it works. So you just take those little stickers off. So you saw I kind of pried it up in the middle, and then you can pull the stickers off in either direction. There's kind of a line there. And then we're going to dig out this stamp. You just punch it out like this. You remove the backing like that. And some people don't even put the sticker on. They just put that on their acrylic block. But I like to have the sticker so I see what I'm stamping. So you just try to line it up as best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but as close as you can get it. Then you just lift it off and the sticker is stuck to it. And then you can just put it back where it came from, and just like magic, it sticks to the back of your case, and then you can see what's in there. So that's basically how you put your stamp sets together. It's really quite simple, but if you've never seen it before, it can be a little bit mystifying. You can look and go, huh? What am I supposed to do? Okay, so let's go on to our next stamping. Oh, hi, Linda. I'm glad you could join today. So here is the sentiment we're using to make this a birthday card, and that's this one right here. Now, since that's a long sentiment, I like to pick it up with the block itself, because if I were to place it on the block, I might bend it slightly, and I don't want it to be bent. I want it to be straight on my card. So I'm just going to pick it up like that. And I'll need my little piece for the sentiment that's in my card packet. So you can see what your card packet will look like if you place a $60 minimum order with me and get these packets free. I've got everything pre-cut. Anything that needed to be embossed is embossed, dry embossed, and everything is just ready to go for you. Okay, so here's my little piece of crumb cake cardstock. And I'm going to take this Calypso Coral, And this time, because it's a small stamp, I'm just going to stamp right in there. And you don't have to squish it right into the ink pad. That'll just make your ink go kind of all over your stamp. But just tap it lightly, and then you can see if it's covered. You can kind of see it's shiny there. So that shows that it's got enough ink to work. Okay, so let's put that on as straight as we can, and I'm just going to hold that down for several seconds. Because we're stamping on a colored cardstock, the ink doesn't transfer quite as easily as it does for the specially formulated white cardstock, which is very smooth. This has a little bit of a rougher finish, so I like to hold it down for quite a while. And you can see that made a really nice image there. And as it dries, it gets a bit darker too, which is great. Okay, so that's all we need for stamping for this card. So that's pretty simple, and I'm just going to move my stamp pad out of the way. Okay, there we go. And we'll clean that stamp up right away too. Okay, so you can stamp right into that chamois. It won't hurt it at all. And you can see it will get stained, but that's all right. It still works perfectly well. And we will put this stamp right back where it came from so that we don't lose it. I find if you don't put them back right away, they tend to go missing, and that's really annoying when you're looking for one. Okay, so now we can start assembling this nice little card. And we are starting with a card base, which is already pre-scored for you in the middle. And this is thick white cardstock. I like the thick white because it gives it a little extra body and weight, but not so much that it's extra to send it through the post usually. So that's a really nice thing. So I just used my bone folder to give that a nice crisp fold. And now I'm going to put on a piece of crumb cake that I've actually embossed already. So I did this ahead so it wouldn't take so long on the video, but I'll show you what I used for it. And it's this one. It's the Timber 3D embossing folder. And so it looks like this. I'll open it up for you. And I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that's probably a little better. So you can see the pattern there. So it's kind of like a tree, which is really nice. And it's useful for lots of things. And so that's the pattern there. Now you can decide which side you want to use. One is embossed, it's raised, and the other is kind of debossed, the other way around. So I'm going to put it so that the raised part is up, but you can put it whichever way you like. Oops, I still didn't have that rolled up quite right. There we go. And you might have seen me trying to use this and I didn't get any glue out at first. All you have to do, if that's the case, is you can feel up here where the glue is. So you just kind of roll gently in this direction, and then the glue will come back up. And when you can feel the glue again, you can use it. So that's what you have to do sometimes, just to kind of prime it a little bit. All right, so let's put this on our card base. Okay, and now we're going to use a piece of the beautiful Stippled Roses paper. Now this is one of the choices you can get free with your $60 order during a Sale-A-Bration. So $60 spend, that is. If you spent $120, you could get two choices. So you could get 2 packs of this paper or whatever other choices you might like. And some new choices for Sale-A-Bration freebies just came out today. So you'll want to check the Stampin' Up! Website and see what those are. If you can't find them, just message me or leave a comment and I'll help you out. So one of the free choices is this Softly Stippled Designer Series paper. So let me show you the different patterns that we have. So we're going to use one of them on our card here today. And then there are lots more. So here's the one that we're using right now. And the back side looks like this. So that's also a very useful sort of pattern. So here are some of the other ones. You can see the colors are really nice and lots of florals. And then we'll flip them over and we'll look at the patterns on the other side. And these ones are really nice to use as background papers, and we'll see that in some of the cards later on today. So very, very nice combinations of color there. So we're just going to take this little strip of paper and we're going to adhere that to our card base. And if you want to know more about the supplies, that I'm using in these cards. I've got a full supply list on my post on my website. Just click on the Learn More link here, and it'll take you right to all the information about these card packets, how to get them, and also about the supplies themselves. So you can see all the things that I've used. So the rest of this is pretty simple. So we're just going to use some of these Stampin' Dimensionals, and we're going to add this circle. Now this circle I cut out with the Stylish Shapes dies. And the Stylish Shapes dies, they are one of my go-tos. I really love those. Let me just show you. I pulled them out here to be able to show you. Whoops. And here they are. So there's nested circles, nested squares, or diamonds if you like. And then these nested labels as well. And I use these dies more than any other die set that I've got. They might not look as fancy or kind of glitzy as some of the other products, but I really like these ones, and I use them more than any other set. So again, those are called Stylish Shapes dies. Okay, so now we're going to take our little sentiment here. I'm going to pull out my paper snips, which I got from Stampin' Up. I really like these scissors. They're very sharp. They work really well on ribbon as well as on very precise cuts like that. For papers, let me just move these little bits out of the way so we don't stick them on by mistake. And that's just to give a little more interest to our sentiment. So very simple way to make it a little more elegant. And I'm just going to put some dimensionals on there as well. And then we can adhere that to our card, and we'll be almost done with card number 1. So this is not a difficult card to make, and I think it's very pretty as well. And you can play with the placement of where you want the different elements. If you don't want them exactly the way I have them, that's all right. You can do it differently. And for our little embellishments, I'm going to use Neutrals Adhesive Back Sequins. So these are really useful little guys because look at the colors. You've got like a brown, a copper, a gold, and a white. And I find these are good for so many things. So today, let's see, for this one, we're using the copper ones. I'm just going to move these little gold ones out of the way here. And so I'm using a big copper one here, a little copper one up there, and we're just making a triangle kind of to draw your eye through the center of the card and down to the sentiment. And with that, we have finished this card. All right, so that was pretty straightforward and easy. And let's go on to card number 2. So if you are just joining me now, these card packets that you see me using to make these 3 cards are available to you absolutely free when you place a minimum $60 order with me by the end of February 7th. And you'll also get, with your $60 order, a choice of free Sale-A-Bration items. And they have free stamp sets, they've got free ribbon, they've got, I think, a free kit now. They've just come out with some more new things today that I haven't had a chance to look at yet. And so there's lots and lots of choices. I think there must be at least 15 choices now for free items. All right, so here's what we've got for this card. It's good to start with a stamping first. So let's do our stamping on here. Now, on this card, I put Sending Thanks. And you can decide which one you want to do. So you could do Happy Mother's Day and have one made in advance for Mother's Day, or you could do the Sending Thanks. They both fit. And of course, if you have another floral set at home that you'd rather use, you can certainly do that and still get my card packets. You don't have to order this particular bundle in order to get the card packets free. You can order anything you want that adds up to at least $60 before tax and shipping. So it's up to you what you would like. All right, we are going to use this Wild Wheat stamp pad. So let's open that up right now. Oops, everything's in the way here. All right, so let's just tap that. Oops, I don't think you can see that on camera. Here, let me do that so you can see it. And you can see that's coated up nicely. So let's go ahead and stamp that. All right, and I'm just going to hold that down for several seconds to give the ink time to transfer to the paper. And that's very good. Okay, you can see how clearly that worked, right? So this smooth, basic white cardstock, I really like it. It's my favorite thing for stamping. And I've tried a lot of different things for stamping, but I like this one because it's so smooth and the ink takes to it so well. So I don't tend to use any other paper for stamping now. All right, let's see if we can get that all nice and clean here in our stamp chamois. That looks pretty good. So I'll put that to the side and we will put our stamp away in our box again. Okay, and now we're just going to cut a chevron in the bottom of our sentiment here, just to make it a little more fancy. Okay, so you just cut in the middle as far up as you want to go. Then cut in from each side until you meet in the middle. So you just have to kind of guesstimate. There. So that's it. Very, very simple. And yet it looks fancy. I like those kind of little tricks that tend to work really well. Okay, so we've got that done. Now we are going to stamp this main panel. So let's get ready for that. So we will need this small rose. So we'll put that on one block. And we're going to need this piece of greenery here. And for this one, we will need a larger block. So I'm going to use this one, which is block I. But you can use whatever larger block you might have in your collection. But block I if you need one. All right. And now we're going to use a little piece that's in our kit here. And it's a rectangle of basic white cardstock. So we're going to do that right now. So we're going to stamp the flower in wild wheat. So I'll get that one out again. And we're going to stamp the greenery in Lost Lagoon. Okay, so I'm just going to open them both. So we have them both at our disposal. And we're just going to stamp them randomly all over this piece of paper. So I'll show you what I mean by that. All right, so we're just going to tap this. And you can see that's covered up pretty well. I'm tap it a little more. And we'll start and we'll stamp right off the edge. See how I did that? And that tends to make it look kind of more natural when you're done. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp my greenery next. All right. And my greenery, I think I'm going to stamp this way. So you can just stamp them randomly though. It really doesn't matter. I'm just making this up. So you just want to kind of go back and forth between your two elements here. And stamp however makes sense to you. All right. Okay, I'll do it that way. And now let's do another one of the greenery. Okay, so can we stamp in between there? I think we can. All right. And stamp another one of these. And is that going to be good enough? Maybe we need a little bit more at the bottom there. Okay. And I think that pretty much covers it. So that's all I'm going to do. So you could stamp that differently every single time and get a slightly different version of it. But the idea is just to make this repeating pattern. So it really isn't that important, the specifics of it. And anyways, if there's parts of it that you don't like, we're going to actually cover up some of it anyway. And so it really won't matter in the final analysis if the whole thing's perfect. All right, so let's see if we can get that all cleaned up here in our stamp chamois. All right, that's good. So we'll put this one back in the stamp case. And then we'll put that away for right now. Okay, now we're going to close up our ink pads. I always like to close them up as soon as I can because it's so easy to get arm or your sweater or your project in it, and that's very annoying. So I don't like to do that. Okay, so here we go. Now we want to assemble this card. So we're going to take our stamped piece that we just did with the roses and the greenery, and I'm going to put it on this other rectangle that you have in your kit. Oops, I just picked up the wrong one. Sorry about that. So here is a Lost Lagoon rectangle, and we're simply going to adhere this to the rectangle. So I'm just using my stamp and seal to do that. And here we go. So you can just kind of put it in the middle. There we are. So that's good. And we're going to get out our card base now too. And this is a thick white card base, again, to give a little more body than just the regular white cardstock. So let's do that. Okay, and you'll also have a couple of pieces of the stippled, what's it called again? I can never remember because it's slightly different. Softly stippled paper, the one that you can get free during Sale-A-Bration with your $60 order. So we're going to put these little strips of paper, so you've hardly used any. That means you can get a lot out of your free paper that way. We're going to stick those right on here, just on the edges of your card base. Okay, so there's one. And let's put another one on over here. And we'll just line it up as best we can. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, just close as you can make it. And now we're going to use some stamp and seal, and we're going to add our panel of stamped paper and Lost Lagoon cardstock. Okay, so here we go. Let's put that on too. Okay, you can just kind of arrange that wherever you want it to be. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to assemble this middle piece here. So the middle piece is composed of a piece of vellum cardstock, as well as our sentiment that we stamped, and a little piece of ribbon that's about 6 inches long. So that ribbon comes from the Real Red and Burlap Ribbon Combo Pack. And again, I have a full supply list right on my website. If you just click through to learn more, you'll be able to get that. And I'm just going to cut myself a piece here that's about 6 inches long. So I just cut that. Whoops, I moved that too. All right, so here's the piece that's about 6 inches long. And I'm just arranging this to see where we want to put it. So I think something like this would look good. Okay, so how I'm going to stick that on is very simple. I'm just going to put a bit of adhesive, dry adhesive, not wet adhesive, tends to work best. So you could use glue dots, you could use this tape glue, it's good for that. And I put just a couple of strips on here, and then let's turn it over and we'll kind of arrange it the way we like. Okay, so there, now it is on there, and that looks pretty decorative. And now what we can do is put some dimensionals on there. And these dimensionals are great little things. If you haven't had them before, they come in 300s in the pack for $6. So you get a lot of them, and they make crafting so easy. I like them because they don't seem to dry out on you like a lot of the products I've had before. I like these ones because they tend to work really well. What I would say is don't keep them in a super cold place though. I think any glue will tend to dry out if you let it get below 0 Celsius. That's not really the best idea. So just keep it in kind of a room temperature situation if you can. Okay, here we go. So let's stick that on. And now we can flip over our vellum and put more dimensionals on the back so you won't see them through the vellum itself. So I'm just going to match up where I put the other ones and put them in the same place, just to make it super easy. Oh, there we go. Okay, So here we are. Let's take those off. And I will stick that on the background here. Okay. So this already looks pretty nice. It's quite decorative, but let's add a little bling here. So I put these gold embellishments on, and again, these are called Neutrals Adhesive Back Sequins. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll put more of those on. So we'll put one here in that little corner, and then we'll put one here, and one more down there like that. Whoops, let's put it a little closer. There, I like that better. Okay, so that is the end of the second card. Very simple, right? Okay, so one more card to go. And this time we are going to be using a different color scheme altogether. So this is a color scheme that includes Bubble Bath, which is a very beautiful pink with a slight lavender tint to it that just came out earlier this year in May, or early last year, I guess, in May. Now, I guess we've switched years, haven't we? I'm a little behind the times here. Anyways, this color is not actually in the paper that we've been using, but there is one paper that is this color. So it's white and gray, and this gray is called Pebbled Path. And so I thought it would look really nice with pink. And so this shows that you can use the paper that you can get for free through Sale-A-Bration with other colors that are actually not in the paper. So you can be creative with it and do different things with it. So let's exchange our ink pads for this one. We'll want this one. And here's what we're going to do. So we're going to take this vellum piece first, and we're going to stamp right on it in Pebbled Path, just like I did there. So let's move some things out of the way here. So here's my card packet, and we're going to take out our vellum piece. Now I used some dies to cut this out to give it that really decorative edge, which is very pretty. And this is another set of dies that I use a lot. So these are called the Scalloped Contours dies, and you can kind of see why I would use them a lot. They just give an extra decorative, elegant touch to whatever you're doing. So they're called Scalloped Contours dies. All right, so what we're going to do is just stamp directly on there. And I'm going to use my Pebbled Path ink, and we're going to stamp Congratulations. So here's what it looks like. And when you're stamping on vellum, it can be done, but the thing to know is that it can take a while to dry. So I'll show you my shortcut for drying it here. All right, whoops, let's pick that up. All right, so we're gonna just tap, tap, tap. All right, and I'm gonna move that over so you can see this better. So I'm just going to be stamping this near the bottom. So you can stamp it as close to the bottom as you want. I'm going to put it quite a ways down here. I'm going to hold it down for several seconds just to give the ink time to transfer. All right, and then I'll pull up. All right, and there it is. Now you can see though that it is, whoops, if we can get it in the camera there. Can we get that to focus? There we go. Okay, so you can see that shininess to it. That means it is not dry. So the whole thing is still really wet. So we don't want to touch that. So I'm just going to move it over here on top of the other card for right now. I'm going to clean my stamp. It'll give it a little extra time so we can kind of stall while it dries. And then I'm going to do my shortcut for drying it. Okay, so let's put this stamp back in the case. And that is actually all the stamping we're going to do for all our projects. We'll close up our ink pad. And now what I'm going to do is take out my heat tool. So if you've done any heat embossing, I'm just using a heat tool. This is an old one I have. I do have a new Stampin' Up! One that I haven't broken out yet, but this one is my old one. And I'm just going to heat this. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm sorry if it's loud, but here we go. So I'm going to just heat it until I can see that it's not shiny anymore. That means it is dry and ready to go ahead and use. Oh, I think I heated it a little bit too much on the edge there because I started to singe my paper. So that is a good hint to you that you don't want to do too much, or you might actually singe the edges of your paper there. I'm just going to use this project the way it is for now, but you can see on my one before it didn't do that. So you just don't want to hold it too long in one place because it will kind of do that to your paper. What I'd suggest, rather than actually using a heat tool for doing this, is simply letting it dry for a while, and you can come back later and make sure that it's ready to go. But anyways, I just wanted to show you that shortcut, and also now I've demonstrated what not to do too. So just keep that in mind when you're making your own card later. Okay, so here we go. Let's take our card base here. All right, so this is Pebbled Path card base, and this is one of the patterns that is in that floral paper, that softly stippled paper we've been using in these projects. That's one side, but this is the other. So we're going to take that paper, and we're going to take this little rectangle of bubble bath paper, and we're just going to adhere that right to it. Here's where I'm going to roll that up again for you to see. There you go. All right. And we're going to just put that right on there. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to use dimensionals to attach that. And I'm just going to use these little bits on the end. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I like to use every last bit of them. I figure you should get your money's worth, right? And all the little bits on the end work just as well as the hexagons do, so why not cut them up and just use them? So that's what I always do. All right, so we'll take all those backings off, and we will put on our paper there. Okay, so now we'll take our vellum here, and now we're going to go ahead and use these other pieces here. So I'm going to explain what these other pieces are that we're going to put on the card. So first of all, these die cuts. Okay, so you can see there's one die cut, here's another, and you just need to kind of poke out these little bits. So I'm just going to remove those little things that can poke out, and I'll come back and show you that. So that one pokes out to leave a hole there. So there should be kind of a hole in the middle of each leaf here. And if your die cut machine didn't cut them all out, that's quite all right. You can quite easily poke them out, and there you go. Okay, so I'm just going to discard those little bits. There we are. And these bits of greenery, they're actually from the bundle. So they're from the Stippled Roses bundle, which comes with your cling stamp set and this set of dies. So it's actually this one. I just made a couple of them. All right. And this is a piece of the paper. So I'll show you the sheet it comes from. It is from the softly stippled paper. So here's what the sheet looks like. And you could just use that as decorative paper as a card base. But what I did was I just cut out one of these. And if you cut them all out, can you imagine how many cards you could make? It'd be amazing. You could even color them in. You could color them with your watercolor pencils. You could color them with regular markers. You could color them with Stampin' Blends, alcohol markers, whatever you want. And I'm just going to cut this one out, and then I'll be able to use it on my card. So I'm just cutting this out fairly simply and easily and quickly. I'm not really taking too much care to do that, just kind of, as long as it's got a little white edge around, I'm happy with that. You don't have to be too precise about it. All right, so let's go cut in there. And this little bit of cutting, I think is worth it though, because it does look pretty cool on the card. And you could use the stamp set to do this same thing. If you use the floral images and just stamp them in Pebbled Path, they would look just like this, only they'd be slightly different size. So the flowers in the paper are not actually the same size on this pattern as they are in the dies, so that's why I'm cutting them out as opposed to die cutting them. But you could definitely just stamp them onto white paper in Pebbled Path ink and then use the dies to cut them out and just kind of change the dimensions of the various parts of the card a little bit if you wanted to do it that way. All right, so that is it for cutting that out. So that didn't really take that long anyway, and that's what our picture looks like. So now what we want to do is just kind of figure out how we want this to look. So where do we want that to be? Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to take a piece of regular old tape, turn it over while I'm still holding it, and stick it on. Because we're going to use dimensionals and it will stay on really well. So I'm not at all worried that it'll come off. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to put on tape again. So I figure, why not conserve your more expensive adhesive and just use regular tape if you can. And then you don't have to worry about extra expense. Okay, that one I'm going to move a little bit. I don't really like the placement of that as much as I thought I did. So I'm going to move it down just a little bit. That's still not where I want it. Okay, we're going to do it this way. We're going to turn it over so that I can see it. And then we're going to do it like that. There. Now that's more what I was aiming for. So there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is use dimensionals again. So I'm going to use these little pieces. Cut some of those. And we're going to stick this right to our vellum. And then we will adhere the vellum to the card once we've got something on the vellum that will hide the adhesive we're going to put on. So let's do that. Okay, so here we go. All right, let's do it that way. Okay, perfect. And then we'll just flip it over and we'll put more dimensionals on the vellum to stick the vellum to the card. Okay, so we're just going to put them anywhere that is already covered by the picture. So it really doesn't matter where. You could put them over top of the ones you already put on the other side, or you can just put them in new places, which is what I did this time. But either way would work. It's totally fine. So let's do that. And we will put this on straight away. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our embellishments, and this time we're going to use these nice little shiny white ones. So these are again called Neutrals Adhesive Back Sequins. And because they're neutral colors, I just find them super useful because you can use them for so many things. Okay, so let's put one there and a small one. Let's see, kind of like that. And we'll just follow what I did before. So there's one there, down there, and we had a larger one kind of over here. So that is our card. So really not very difficult, just a tiny bit of stamping there. And with that, we have finished all of our cards. So let me put them out again so you can see them. So we had this one first, and then we did this one, and then we did this one. So again, if you are interested in receiving the pre-cut packets to make all these 3 cards, all you need to do is place a minimum $60 order with me by the end of February the 7th, and I'd be happy to send them to you for free. I don't charge any shipping to send them to you. I'll just send them right out. And you'll also get to choose, for every $60 spend, a free Sale-A-Bration item. And they did come up with some new items just today, so make sure you have a look at that. And thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed these projects. I hope you like this Stippled Roses bundle. So here it is again, the stamp set. And here are the dies. And these are the cards that I made with it today. So have a wonderfully crafty day. Let me know if you have any questions at all about these projects, or if you're interested in taking a class or joining my team, which is called Creative Cafe. I'd be very happy to speak with you about that as well. All right, bye for now, friends. See you next time.